Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. Second hour kicking off right now on this Wednesday morning. We are making the turn here on this July 29th as we start to wrap up the month of July. Holy moly, flying on through here. First hour, we spent time talking all Brewers as we inch a little bit closer and closer to the trade deadline, which is coming up on Monday. How about this? Where's your trade-o-meter at? Do you think the Brewers will make, and I'm going to phrase it this way, a big move? Impact move. I'm not talking about maybe just like a unless it's Mason Miller. I mean, that's an impact move. But I'm not talking just about, okay, you know, a bullpen arm, probably a guy you may not have heard of. I'm talking about a major move. Scale of 1 to 10. Where's your trade-o-meter at for the Brewers? Are you buying into all the reports and the rumors out there that they're going to be aggressive and that they're going to be buyers? Or do you think it's all pooey? That is like, no. That's just not going to happen. Where are you at? 1 through 10. 10 being like guaranteed. 1 being like, yeah, good joke. Ain't happening. How you feeling on this Wednesday before the Monday trade deadline? We've got game 3 of this series, 2:45. Brewers looking to win another series. They got to go up against Logan Webb, who was really good against them earlier in the season. We'll see if the Bats can do what they did last night and give Shane Drowan some run support and put up some crooked numbers and help lead the crew to another series victory before an off day tomorrow. And then they've got a series against the Angels coming up this weekend. Packers practice numero 1, 10:30 today. Bikes will be flooding the streets outside of Lambeau Field, heading to practice at Ray Nitschke Fields, Don Hudson Center. Packers putting some more players, though, on the PUP list. Gosh darn it. So, I mean, we knew Micah Parsons was going to be, but now they're a long snapper. Matt Orzik is, Brant Banks is, Jordan Riley is, Nazir Stackhouse is. I get it. These guys could be cleared pretty quick and return to practice, but great googly moogly. What do we got, like 10 guys now on the PUP list for Green Bay? What are we doing here? There you go. That's a Wednesday. What are we doing here? What the heck? For crying out loud. Hopefully it's nothing serious with a lot of these guys, but geez Louise. Maybe a little bit of a kicking competition here for the Pac-2. Lenny Krieg is coming over for the Packers. Haversick was released. So we'll I don't think there's really much of a kicking competition, just maybe trying to add a little bit better depth perhaps, in their opinion at least. So, but that's definitely going to be, honestly, to go to the question that I was throwing out there, I think the first thing that I might be watching, it might not necessarily be the first thing they do at practice, but my attention is going to be drawn to Trace Mack and the kicking. Considering all of these maybe guys that are on the PUP list and what have you, and since it's just day one, and I don't want to overreact to day one, but I'll tell you right now, we might have a little fun with this tomorrow on Overreaction Thursday because it's a training camp practice and it's day one, so people are already going to be freaking out. But that's honestly probably one of the very first things I'd be looking at whenever they do, and they usually kind of do some kicking stuff towards the end of practice, but I'd be like, okay, got to see Trace Mack. Got to see him. How's the kicking looking? What's the kicking game looking like? Marshawn Lloyd. I mean, we've talked a lot about this. Marshawn Lloyd. And we haven't heard anything else about Josh Jacobs. So I know I asked you if you were covering Packers practice, what would you be looking for? How about, all right, because I believe Gutey and LaFleur are going to be chatting with the media. So what would you ask? You got one question. Before practice number one, what would be the question that you would ask to LaFleur? What would the question be that you would ask to Gutey? One of them, I think, I don't know who I would throw it to, but I think one of them would be like, what is the situation surrounding Josh Jacobs? Do you have any more clarity? Because what if he's not on the field? From all accounts, I believe he's going to be. And I'd be curious to see if he's going to be talking to the media at any point soon. But I got to imagine that that's still going to be something that's going to be thrown out there. Otherwise, I would ask, if it's Gutey, boy, I'd probably ask something about the corners. What if, is that still an option maybe to bring in another corner, whether it's like a Trayvon Diggs, if you don't like what you're seeing so far? Is it another corner? If you feel like you have to make a move after training camp is like over with, are you comfortable with the fact that you might have to make a trade at the end of camp for a different position group? If a position group doesn't kind of play out the way that you're hoping, or maybe there's an injury. Granted, you don't have a first-round pick next year, but from all accounts, 2027 draft is going to be a deep one. Would you be comfortable trading one of those picks for a player? And I think, for LaFleur, the biggest thing for me would have to be probably maybe. I was going to say something with the offensive line, but I already know what the answer that he would throw out there, and it would just be typically the 5 best will play. And I'd have to think about that one for a little bit. What about you guys and gals? What would you throw out there? And you get one question to ask Gutey and Brian Gutekunst. What would that question be? Send it on over. 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or you can hang out in the Section 105 chat on the YouTube page. Nick says, I'm going to say 7. I think they truly believe, this is about the Brewers question, I think they truly believe they have a special team, and getting that one extra guy could put them over the edge in those must-needed situations. If you're saying an impact player, then I'm going to give you a 3, says Surveyor Sam. If they just make a trade, I'm giving you 8. Yeah, just impact player. And since we're days away now, do you feel like the need has shifted, or the priority has shifted for the Brewers, where it's a starting pitcher over a bat? Because that's where it feels like we're here. Now, I know there was the Abrams report that the Brewers checked in on him, but it's been, all we've been hearing so far has been Peralta, Skubal, and Mason Miller. Is that the priority? C-Bomb says, if I had one question for Matt LaFleur would be, are you going to take the handcuffs off Jordan Love and let him do his thing? Okay, C-Bomb, now you're going to get Surveyor all riled up. Now you're going to get Surveyor all riled up again. Like he did yesterday when we brought this up. Oh boy. I'm waiting for the Surveyor text back about that with Jordan Love. Here we go. I think maybe I would phrase it differently to LaFleur and say, yeah, see, surveyor says, how dare you, C-Bomb. I think if I would almost rephrase it differently and say, is Jordan Love at the point, or do you feel comfortable putting more on his shoulders? Are you confident in him? He's going to say yes. I'm trying to think of a better way that I would phrase this so I don't get a typical coach's answer. I guess maybe something about, okay, you got Watson locked up. Tucker Kraft is coming back. You got Jaden Reed locked up. Is there going to be something, maybe more of a priority in the passing game? And honestly, LaFleur is probably still going to say that they're a run-first team and they got to establish the run. But I'm trying to figure out a creative way to ask the question, are you going to throw the ball a little bit more? Are you going to rely on Jordan Love's arm maybe a little bit more? Do you need to set up the pass to set up the run? Or do you need to establish the pass to set up the run? What else would you throw out there and ask? Okay, it's a what if. What if you were a covering practice, say, and you get one question to Gutey and one question to LaFleur? What you throwing out there to ask him? We got some more picks. I'm asking for a gauge of 1 to 10 for an impact player with the trade deadline coming up on Monday. 1 through 10, your confidence level for the Brewers to make a big-time trade. Looks like a lot of you are hovering around 6 to 7. 6 to 7. That's kind of where the average is at this point in time. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll have some more football talk coming up here soon. So keep those thoughts coming. Continue to send me your what ifs and your what are we doing here. All right, we'll get back to those here in a little bit. I do want to talk some Badgers coming up here a little bit later on. Get to some of Luke Fickell's comments from yesterday at Big Ten Media Days. I've been seeing some people now out there in the media land saying, hey, could the Badgers maybe be a little bit of a dark horse team? Are they starting to drink the Kool-Aid when maybe they shouldn't be? I mean, the bar is pretty low for this Badger football team, so maybe, I don't know, maybe something of an over-exaggeration. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of like I got to wait to see it sort of mindset, but I don't know. We'll go through some of Luke Fickell's comments coming up a little bit later on here. So, all right, quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. When your vehicle needs attention, make it easy on yourself. Just trust the team at AJM Automotive Services in Eau Claire. With 2 convenient locations, AJM Automotive makes taking care of your car, truck, or SUV simple. Need service? Hey, scheduling an appointment is quick and easy. All you have to do is visit ajmautomotiveservices.com and book online when it works for you. And if the unexpected happens and you're stuck on the side of the road, AJM's towing services are there to help get you and your vehicle where you need to go. From routine maintenance and to unexpected repairs, AJM Automotive is your local partner for honest, dependable auto care. 2 Eau Claire locations, easy online scheduling, trusted service when you need it the most. That's AJM Automotive. Big thanks to AJM Automotive. They are a partner of the Casper Classic. And also big thanks for partnering with us in VFW Post 305 to give a veteran free oil change for a year. So big thanks to John and his crew at AJM Automotive. And congrats, because I saw them winning a couple of awards that they posted up on Facebook the other day too. So congrats to AJM Automotive for winning a couple awards for towing and for auto service repair. So, all right, no big surprise if you've taken your vehicle to AGM Automotive to see that they were able to pick up a couple of those awards. So, We've got day one of training camp for the Packers. Practice begins at 10:30 this morning. We'll hear from LaFleur and Gutey. I know a few of you have texted in with some of your questions. We'll get back to those here in just a skosh. But with day one of training camp practice here, Joe, what would be the first thing that you're going to be following and paying attention to?
It's health. It's health, and when you look at when guys are just getting in, obviously the PUP list has been published, and you've got Tucker Kraft recovering from his injury, Luke Musgrave dealing with an injury, Aaron Banks, Devon Hargrave, Nazir Stackhouse. So you've got a lot of guys that have quote-unquote undisclosed injuries that didn't pass their physical. So it's looking at when these guys are going to start coming back. Again, Tucker Kraft, Micah Parsons, we know he's going to miss the beginning of the season. And so, but these other guys, as they get healthy and as they're able to pass their physical, that's what I want to see. And I think the biggest thing for me is also in preseason games a sense of urgency. So as we get into the games, because we all know the Packers did not finish last year, and I think a lot of that comes down to a sense of urgency. So I'm looking at the health of this football team, and I'm looking at, is there a sense of urgency? Can you detect that this team is putting an emphasis from day one on finishing and closing out?
If you could ask Gutey one question today, what would it be?
Who is that running back on your wish list right now that you're working on possibly obtaining? I still think Green Bay needs to go out and get someone. And again, I think Green Bay's in that limbo situation right now where they don't know probably what's going to happen as far as with Josh Jacobs goes. And so they're in a little bit of a limbo situation, so you don't want to mortgage the farm on going out and getting a running back, but you need a running back. And I don't see this dragging on until the beginning of the regular season. I see Green Bay having to address that sooner than later. So my question to Gutey would be, who's the running back that you're going to go out and get? Who do you have your eye on right now? Because, again, regardless of anything else, there's going to be a suspension with Josh Jacobs. There absolutely will be. So, and again, you and I talked ad nauseum about how horrible this situation is. And Green Bay, a team with Super Bowl aspirations, can't go into this season with such an important position to this offense like running back being a huge question mark.
So even if he's cleared, you still think he's going to be suspended?
First of all, I don't think he's going to be cleared completely. I think you're going to see lesser charges. I don't think this thing gets dropped completely, especially when you heard reports that neighbors heard the arguments and that type of thing. So I say this out of the fact that I don't think he gets 100% cleared. I think what happens truly is the charges get lessened, and so I still see him having issues up to 3 games, depending on the severity of what they settle on. But I still see this being kind of that cloud that's hanging over Green Bay. And again, if he is completely cleared, then yeah, I don't think he gets suspended. I just don't see that happening.
Luke Musgrave was also put on the PUP list, with Tucker Kraft being on the PUP list. How important, and Luke Musgrave could be cleared any day now and that, but I mean, how questionable is that tight end depth now with Tucker Kraft probably going to be starting week 1, but after Tucker Kraft and now Luke Musgrave, because I think he was entering a big year. But when you look at that group, how concerning is it when it comes to the depth of that position?
Oh, it's very concerning. When you look at, you've got Josh Wiley, and then the rest of the names, I mean, they did sign Luke Lachey. They've got R.J. Maryland, who is an undrafted free agent. They've got Drake Dabney. I mean, they've got guys out there. They've got a list of guys. But when you look at, again, going back to the intricacies of this offense and the importance of a certain position to this offense, from day one, LaFleur has talked about having the ability to go 12 personnel. And when they drafted both Musgrave and Kraft, you're seeing this, okay, These are the guys you build that 12 personnel around. So yeah, it is concerning. And again, when Luke Musgrave, I'm sure he'll be back soon. That's again one of those undisclosed injuries. I'm sure he'll be back soon, but still, you've got Tucker Kraft coming back from the ACL, and then Musgrave has not been able to truly stay healthy every season. And so to get done what Green Bay needs to get done, having two capable tight ends, actually one really good tight end, one blue chip player tight end, and then another good tight end or capable tight end, it's critical to this offense. So that's another position that if maybe Tucker Kraft's recovery is delayed a little bit, or maybe Musgrave's injury lingers, that could be one of those where Green Bay starts looking at the cut lines and the, who is available. So that might be a position where Gutey says, yeah, we got to fortify that position as well.
Would you inquire on Vita Vea?
Absolutely. Why not? At that point, when you hear a guy like Vita Vea, and you hear that there's an impasse when it comes to contract conversations, I think you owe it to yourself and your football team to have that conversation. Now, again, people tease and kid about Gutey. Well, the Packers were in on the conversation, but yeah, you owe it to yourself as a general manager. You owe it to yourself as a pro personnel department. You owe it to yourself from a football team perspective to at least inquire. Is this serious? Are you really not going to sign him? Is he really at an impasse? If it is serious, what kind of compensation would you be looking for initially? So yeah, I think you inquire about it, and again, who knows? I'm not as a lot of Packer fans feel that Gutey doesn't make moves or the Packers don't make moves, and I think if this were Ted Thompson, I would 100% agree with that take. But I think Brian Gutekunst has shown that he's willing to take moves to improve this football team, and so if he's available and available for the right price, absolutely. Not only have those cursory conversations, but go deeper and actually have conversations to make that move.
Do you think Matt LaFleur still has some handcuffs on Jordan Love? Because Dan Orlovsky talked about a little bit yesterday about, Packers were third best in EPA, or fourth best or whatever it was, but then they had one of the fewest dropbacks last year in the NFL. Is it time to let Jordan Love cook? Do you think he still has handcuffs on him? What's your take on that?
I think Matt LaFleur is a little bit – I think his seat's a little warmer, okay? I don't think he's in danger of being fired. Obviously, the extension came in, and I think Matt LaFleur is, to quote Mike McCarthy, a good football coach. And so I think Matt LaFleur is in a good position. That being said, this team knows that they're close. I think this team knows that they've got to finish. I think this team knows that they've got to close out teams. And so I think Matt LaFleur is going to do whatever Matt LaFleur needs to do to get this team to get the mentality or get to the position of game. And I'm going to use the term where you put your foot on the opponent's throat. And I think if that means that Jordan Love, you're more aggressive with him. You're taking more shots, or maybe late in the game you are going play action than trying to run out the clock. Whereas you can put your foot on the throat rather than hope for the win. I think Matt LaFleur is going to do whatever Matt LaFleur needs to, and if that is letting him cook a little bit more, quote unquote, I think he will do that. I do think this franchise, from Gutekunst on down, is feeling a sense of urgency. And again, whether that translates to, quote unquote, letting Jordan Love cook, I don't know. But if I were LaFleur and looking at it from a statistical measure and looking at it from guys who know the game like Dan Orlovsky and what they say about Jordan Love, then yeah, I'm saying we've got to get this thing going. And if the offense is clicking, and I go back to the Pittsburgh game last year, because to me that seemed like an absolute blueprint for this offense. And obviously a lot of it went through Tucker Kraft that game. But Jordan Love was so good in that. So good. And if you can replicate that, and if you can replicate that late in games so that you're putting teams away and you don't have to hope for a stop or hope for something to happen so we can either hold the lead or get the lead back, then, yeah, I say you do it. So I think Jordan Love's going to have a good season. And I think, again, going back to you and I have talked every offseason since Jordan Love was the starter, what does he need to improve upon? And, completion percentage was a big thing for me. Touchdown to interception ratio is a big thing for me. And so he had his best year last year in completion percentage, and his touchdown to interception ratio was great. Now it's time to, all right, let's go from 20-something touchdown passes to let's go to where he's now that 30 to 35 touchdown guy. And I think if Green Bay does that, and if Matt LaFleur does that, this team will be very successful and set themselves up for a long run in the playoffs.
Give me a prediction. What week do you think Burton is starting on the offensive line?
I'm going to say week 4.
Who is he taking over?
I've said it before. I think he takes over for Belton. I think Green Bay likes Belton, and I do too. When you look at some of the tape last year, the guy has, first of all, he's big. He is a big guy. The guy can move for his size. But if Burton's going to be a starter, I think he is a starter at that right guard. Anthony Belton then jumps out and becomes that swing tackle to give Green Bay a little bit more depth at those positions. Because when you look at the tackle position, and when you look at the depth chart, and you look at Brant Banks as your backup left tackle, it's concerning. And so at that point, this gives you the capabilities of having a tackle capable of plug and play. And so, and again, I like Anthony Belton. I really do. But everything that this organization has said about Burton from day one that he was drafted, it really is setting up an opportunity for him to start on this offensive line. And if he does, it's going to be that right guard position.
Give me the to wrap it up here. Give me your kind of one player that you're curious to watch in this training camp season, whether he's a late draft pick and an undrafted guy, or just maybe a newcomer that, you know what, I'm kind of curious. I'm excited to see what he can do and maybe make a name for himself in training camp.
I am really high on Denis Dennis-Sutton. I just really am. And I want to see him. I want to see him especially when pads go on, because he's one of those guys that looks the part in shorts. And so he's a guy that I think can be a contributor. I think he can be a contributor right away. And obviously, we know this, Micah Parsons not going to be playing early on in the year. And then you've got Brenton Cox Jr., you've got Barron Sorrell, you've got Colin Oliver, you've got some guys out there. But if he shows something, especially when the pads go on, that is going to do wonders for this team, especially early on in the year, if you can bring him in, spot play him, and you don't lose a lot. So that's the guy that I'm going to be looking at and saying, and again, especially when the pads go on, can he handle the physical part? He is a freakish athlete. Can he handle the physical part of the game when the pads go on? So, that's the guy that I've kind of got circled. Loved him from the draft. Loved him from looking at the draft going into it. And so he's a guy that I'd like to see step up, especially when the pads come on.
Joe, good stuff as always. Appreciate you joining us here this morning. Happy day one of training camp. And next time we chat with you, we'll have some overreactions after the first week of practice and such. So
that's the fun part, Dan. That is the fun part.
Exactly. So, all right, we'll chat with you again soon, okay?
All right, brother. Take care, man.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning. We got to take a quick break, but we'll be back after these few words. When it comes to feeding your family, quality matters. And for great tasting meats, you don't have to look any further than Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. From fresh cuts of beef and pork to delicious brats, steaks, and all of your favorites for the grill, Mike's Star Market brings you the quality and service that you expect from a true local butcher shop. Whether you're firing up the grill, planning a family meal, or stocking up the freezer, stop by Mike's Star Market and experience the difference of shopping local. Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. Quality meets hometown service in a tradition that you can taste. We got a few texts that I want to get to here before I play a little bit of a clip from head ball coach for the Badger football team, Luke Fickell, at Big Ten Media Days yesterday, making the rounds and all that. But G-Man, the Hall of Famer, chiming in saying, Brewers going to win today 6-2. Scrubs will lose tonight against the Cardinals. We've got Mark saying, I'd say the Brewers' appetite is fairly high at a 7, but the likelihood of it happening is at a 2. It seems the sellers will be very few, and it takes 2 to tango. You're exactly right, man. It takes 2 to tango. We've got John saying, good morning, Dan. My question to you is this. Is there a certain position group that you were looking at very closely in training camp for the Packers this year? One of the position groups that I'm looking at, special teams, and whether they improved from last year and whether Trey Smack is the future kicker for the Packers. That's a great one. I'm definitely looking at kickers. I mean, I'm looking at corners. You know, how does Brandon Cisse? He was a second-round pick, but, you know, can he potentially begin the season as a starter over a Carrington Valentine? I'm concerned about the corner group. The defensive line group, I think we kind of have our base, but depth there's a question mark. And then who's going to be the edge rusher outside of Lucas Van Ness that is going to get the first crack as a starter until Micah Parsons comes back? I'm looking at that edge rushing group. So, I mean, there's a lot of different position groups. And I'll actually be heading to camp in a couple weeks. More deets on that, some fun stuff. But those right now, we'll see how the first few practices go. And then I might have a different thought on that when we get when I get over there here soon. So we'll see. But keep those coming. We got a few more picks for on a scale of 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10. Where would you put your confidence level that the Brewers are going to make a, quote, major trade? A lot of you hovering around that 6-7 mark. So give me your take. 10 being, done deal, dude. It's happening. No question about it. It's happening. All right, let's switch gears here for just a bit. Luke Fickell was Big Ten Media Days yesterday. He chatted, had a presser, made the rounds with some media members. I want to play this clip. I want to play this clip and get your take on it. So, audio courtesy from Big Ten Network.
We probably have not recognized this. Over the last 9 months, there's been a hell of a lot of changes. And to the naked eye and to the fan, I don't know that you could see them all. But to the people from within the program, meaning the players, the coaches, the people that are really close to this team, have seen and felt a difference throughout this entire program. And I'm standing here today in a lot different place than I was in the last 3 years. And I really do mean that. Now, I don't have all the answers, and I'm not saying that we're someplace far off from where we have been, but what we are much different in is our leadership. And about 9 months ago, midway through a season, there were some things that started to happen, and we could have gone one direction or the other, and we were in a really tough situation. But there was some youth within our program that really started to grow and took over in a way that was really, really healthy for us. And we had a group of veteran leaders that kind of understood what was happening and saw it and embraced that as well. And it's really, over the last 9 months, put us in a position that is far, far different than we ever have been since I've been here.
All right, so that was just a little bit of part of his press conference, but really talked about over the last 9 months, there's been a hell of a lot of changes. And it was great. I mean, it gets you riled up if you're probably a Badger fan. Maybe it gets you a little bit pumped up and like, okay, this season may be better than what we're thinking or what we were going to be expecting. I guess I'm of the level of prove me wrong. I hope that's the case. I hope that the Badgers are going to surprise a lot of people this year. The schedule, you would think, sets up for them. It's a little bit of an easier schedule. Bare minimum's got to be 7 wins, bowl at least, or at least bowl eligible. And I think Luke Fickell knows that the seat is hot for him for this year. I mean, he there's a $25 million roster. There's all these other different changes, new athletic director. But I saw a lot of media members too, kind of pointing to those comments from Luke Fickell and just saying, dude seems more confident than maybe he has been in the last few years. So, I know we talked a little bit about it yesterday with RJ Carnell, but if you haven't had a chance to read that athletic piece, I mean, it's behind a paywall and you have to pay for it, but there's some things in here that really stand out, and it doesn't paint the greatest picture of Chris McIntosh. And I'll revisit that quote where, in The Athletic, Chris McIntosh apparently asked Luke Fickell. This is straight from Luke Fickell. He said, quote, he asked me, what do you want to do? Fickell said in an interview with The Athletic, you're at a crossroads. Where are we headed here? Either you're all in or find an escape route. There were no specifics on how a departure might have been handled, whether Fickell would be fired immediately, finish the season, or reach a settlement on his roughly $25 million buyout. McIntosh wanted an answer first. He gave the coach the night to think about it. Fickell said, there's nothing I would rather do than pull ourselves out of where we are, he told him the next day. And I'll say this, I got to respect Luke Fickell for saying, I want to pull ourselves out of this thing. I want to be here. I want to be the guy that gets us out of this jam, gets us out of this funk, gets us out of this hole. I respect that. I respect the competitiveness from him. Now, let's see it on the field. Let's get some wins. Let's get some W's. It's got to start this year. Hopefully that confidence from him, hopefully that mindset that we're hearing from him, that translates to wins on the field. Another thing, too, that he kind of said, too, he talked about the increased investment on NIL. He said, we're in the mix now. We're not on the outside. 2 years ago, we couldn't even get some kids to step foot on campus. Man, just kind of gives you a little bit of a look at how much money has changed college sports, and it's all about how, if you can pay players now, it's completely different. Completely different. All right, we got to take a quick break because I'm running out of time here. It's almost halftime. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes.